It was September of 2014, and I was at the World War II Memorial, and there's an organization called Honor Flight. It has been bringing World War II veterans into Washington, D.C. since 2004. This particular Saturday was what we would call a Super Saturday, and that would be defined by having 500 to 700 World War II veterans coming in. There was one particular honor flight that came in from Savannah, Georgia. Now, a lot of these groups would fly in. Sometimes they'd fly out the same day. Sometimes they'd fly in, stay the night or something like that. But this one bussed all the way from Savannah, Georgia. So we were greeting them as they came off the bus. Now, normally groups would wear the same shirt and hat or jacket and hat. There was an African-American woman in a wheelchair. She had on a hat, but she was dressed like she was going to church. I went up to her, I said, "Ma'am, I just want to thank you. I've walked through a lot of doors of opportunities because you and so many others just kicked them off the hinges." She said, "Son, you're welcome." She went her way, I went mine. About 20 minutes later, I saw her again in the plaza, and I went up to her again, and this time I knelt down next to her and I hugged. I said, "Ma'am, this time I have to hug you," and I hugged her, right? There was a photograph of that taken, and that photograph was taken literally 5 seconds before what I'm about to say. She asked me, she says, "Can you take me over to the women's bas relief?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I can." So we went over there. So on the European side, there are 12 bas reliefs depicting 12 different aspects of the war in Europe. And there is a bas relief for the women who served. And so we put her in front, and then she started telling me where she served. Now, I'm not a math learner, so those numbers are going in one ear and out the other until she says, "And the last 2 years, I was in the 99th under B.O. Davis." I'm like, my mind started racing, right? I felt like I was on a game show with 5 seconds to answer, and I didn't have the answer. And I'm like, 99th Pursuit Squadron? She says, "Yes." I said, "Benjamin O. Davis Jr.?" She says, "Yeah." "The 99th Pursuit Squadron?" "Yeah." "The Benjamin O. Davis?" "Yes." I said, "Ma'am, do you have any paperwork to prove this?" She says, "Yeah, my discharge papers." I said, "Ma'am, do you know that you are a Tuskegee Airman?" And she looked at me, she says, "Well, I don't think so." I'm like, "No, ma'am, you are. It's not just the pilots, it's everybody who's a part of the Tuskegee experience." I mean, I was more excited probably about it than she was, right? And I said, "Ma'am, you got to give me your name and number. We got to get you, listen, we got to get you your red jacket." And so in a matter of moments, I think word got around in the memorial that there was a Tuskegee Airman there, and she was female. Well, there were some soon-to-be chief petty officers who were there. They were there for Heritage Week, right? And it was a culmination of the Heritage Week. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I know on campus, that's sort of akin to Hell Week, which is a whole different topic of discussion. So they were getting on the last thing Miss Amelia said to me when she got on the bus, she said, "I want my red jacket." So they got on the bus, they're almost ready to go. There were 4 ladies there who were about to become chief petty officers. 3 of the 4 came to the bus. They said, "We heard there's a Tuskegee Airman on. Can we go and introduce ourselves and meet her?" We didn't say yes, we didn't say no, we just pointed to the stairs. And those 3 ladies went on a bus. And I thought it was only fitting. I said, because here are 3 African American women who are about to become chief petty officers. And to some degree, they are standing on the shoulders of Miss Amelia. So they went back to Savannah, and we started making calls. And I got to the point where I ended up calling Dr. Daniel Hallman, chief historian down at Maxwell Air Force Base. Because when Miss Amelia sent me her papers, it didn't say 99th. It said 118th Army Air Force Base Squadron. I'm like, I'm like, this ain't what she told me. She told me something else, right? So I called Dr. Hallman. I said, "Doc, listen, I've got a unit. Can you check it out and see whether or not it's a part of the Tuskegee experience?" He says, "Yeah, He says, do you have and I'm thinking he's going to say, you have about 3 or 4 hours? He says, yeah, do you have a few minutes, a few seconds, a few minutes? He said. I'm like, yes, sir. So he puts me on hold. It was the longest 3 minutes of my life because I'm sitting there thinking, if he comes back and says no, I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do to a lot of people. Dr. Hallman came back on. He says, okay, the 118th Army Air Force Base Squadron. And he says a whole lot of stuff. I don't remember what he says, but here's what I do remember. He said it was a part of the Tuskegee experience. Whew, got me off the hook. So ended up calling Miss Amelia, and I told her, I said, hey, Miss Amelia, you know, I told her what happened, right? Now, the day that I met her was like September 14, 2014, right? 6 weeks later, I went down to Savannah, Georgia. We were at the 8th Army Air Force Museum, and Miss Amelia was inducted into the Tuskegee Airman's Incorporated, Tuskegee Airman Incorporated, and she got her red jacket. I mean, there were generals, there were colonels there. It was absolutely amazing. And I have to say that none of this would have happened. There were so many entities involved. There was Hospice Savannah. Miss Carol was a part of this whole thing. And so was Honor Flight. If any one of us had not done our part, this thing would not have happened. So she got a red jacket, but this story is not over. We made some more calls, and Miss Carol was very influential in this. I went back down to Savannah, April of 2015, and Miss Amelia received a Congressional Gold Medal for her participation as a Tuskegee Airman. Now, I remember at one point she says, I feel like living again. When I met her, and she ended up being the Grand Marshal of their Memorial Day Parade down in Savannah. Now, when we met Miss Amelia, she was in hospice. She had pneumonia, and, you know, she was just cleared to come to DC maybe like the day before they left. So there were a lot of people involved. And that thing changed my life. I mean, just that story changed my life, meeting her. I mean, I've met so many World War II veterans, but that one really did something to me. 1 year, 2 weeks after I met Miss Amelia, September 2015, I got that call that I did not want to get. Miss Amelia was cleared for her final flight. But for 1 year, she knew that she was part of the Tuskegee experience. So for every woman of color, every woman in the military, stand a little taller because they're standing on the shoulders of Miss Amelia R. Jones. Check out our website at www.jwmhistoryalive.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want more films, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at John W. McCaskill. This is John W. McCaskill, History Alive.